Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast presented by the Six Pack Coverage Media Network. I'm Jeff Farallo, your host, here with my co host, Andrew Tanzi, coming at you to get ready for the NFL season. We are ever so close. Oh, so close,
So
something like that.
close.
We're getting really close that I can't even talk about it. We've gone through all of the divisions in the NFL. All 8 are up in your podcast feeds. If you haven't listened to them, make sure to check them out before the season starts. So today, before we actually break down the week 1 slate next week, we figured we would do an awards market podcast. We're going to go through the main 6 awards in the NFL: MVP, Offensive and Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Defensive Rookie of the Year, and then Comeback Player of the Year. So we'll break them all down, see what we can find in terms of value, go over a little bit of history about the award, what you're looking for, what are the past winners can tell us to try and predict the future. So I think it's going to be a fun show. We'll try and make it a little more like conversational, just kind of talk about some guys on the board, see if we can stumble on some good bets here. Brew, how you feeling? Ready to go?
Oh yeah. After this, next time everyone hears my beautiful voice, it will be breaking down the week 1 NFL slate, and I cannot wait. We got a little taste of college football yesterday, so it's that season is in the air now. I'm ready to go, and this is a fun episode. I love the awards markets.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So without further ado, we will start off with the. You want to start with the MVP? Start at
Well,
the
before
top.
we start off, I wanted to talk about the award market kind of a whole, how I
Okay,
approach
good.
it, how you approach it. So, for starters in the preseason, the one kind of basic thing I want to say is shop for best price, because there tends to be some discrepancies from book to book, especially once you get deeper into the odds. One of the plays I have for Offensive Player of the Year, there's a huge discrepancy between a couple of books. So this is definitely one type of futures bet that I would say shop around. And then next, you want to shop throughout the season. These odds are constantly fluctuating throughout the season. It's if you can identify a guy preseason who you think will get better odds later in the season, then that's a good indicator to hold off now, wait for better numbers. But regardless, these numbers are fluctuating throughout the entire season, so you're going to find better value on guys, you're going to lose value on guys. So just kind of being on top of that throughout the season, I think, is key. And then contrary to other markets, I know you and I aren't big guys who hedge or cash out of bets or anything like that. So
Never.
the NFL awards market, I don't want to say it's different because I'm not cashing out or necessarily hedging, but I think it's important to kind of know when to cut bait from your preseason bets. You could have a bet on MVP and you're just dead wrong on the bet after week 6 or week 8. And I think it's okay to dive back into the market at that point. It's not really considered a hedge. If your bet, you can pretty much count it as lost. Once you get late in the season, you tend to be able to cut these awards down to, the top 3, 2, or sometimes even one guy. So last year, I know I had winning tickets on most of the awards winners, but they weren't at great odds. Like I think I got Aaron Rodgers at like -200 MVP, but it was at a point in the season where you knew Aaron Rodgers was winning the MVP, and then I think I bet -200 the next week. It was like -700.
I
So
think I laid like -500 on TJ Watt and just like literally bet the most amount of money I could get down on
yeah,
every book because it was just like a guarantee that he was winning at that point. It's like
exactly.
the price sucked, like you still made a decent amount because
Yeah.
like we knew he was gonna win.
So in some way, there is a way late in the year to guarantee yourself money on some of these awards because they are more predictive than other futures markets. It's not like if you have a ticket on a Super Bowl winner, you can ride that out until they're eliminated from the playoffs. So I think the awards market is a little different. That's why I usually tend to get 1 or 2 tickets on guys in each award, and then kind of if my guy's in the top 2 or 3 guys throughout the season, I'm just going to ride it out. I'm not going to be looking to get in on any other guys unless it's a sure thing that one guy's going to win. So that's just kind of overall kind of how I look at the awards market.
Yeah, I think I agree with pretty much everything you said. Definitely have to shop around. Don't stick too much to your thoughts coming into the preseason. Like just because if I think Russell Wilson's going to win MVP, I'm going to get more information when the season starts. I can predict all these things, but once I actually see the Denver Broncos offense, I might realize he has absolutely no chance because they're just going to run the ball 35 times a game. So I'm not going to try and stick to that and be so stuck on it that I don't let myself make other bets throughout the year. So I think that was an important point to note. And
But at the same time, don't jump ship too quickly because we've seen guys
it's a
be
balance.
there's through the first like 7 weeks of the season last year, Kyler Murray was the shoe-in MVP, and then he faded off. So things do take big shifts throughout the season. So when I'm saying know when to cut away, it's more second half of the season when you really have a sense for it. If the Broncos, it is a new offense, so a guy like Russell Wilson, if you are in on him and they get out to a rocky start in 3 games, they don't look great, I don't think it's smart to just kind of trash your ticket at that point and be like, oh, he's not going to win.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool.
All right. Ready to start with MVP?
Let's do it.
All right. So the MVP award, as most of us know, it usually goes to a quarterback, and they are usually on one of the best teams. 9 years in a row, the winner of this was a quarterback, and 14 of the last 15 years. So right off the bat, I'm honestly eliminating every player that's not a quarterback. If you want to try and bet on like last year, we saw Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp, like they were kind of in the race towards the end, like they were almost having record-breaking type seasons, and neither of them even came close. And I think you're still going to be able to get good prices on these guys middle of the year. So like even if you absolutely love Deebo Samuel, you think he's going to win MVP, I would never bet it now. Like just wait. I think it's going to be a quarterback. Don't really see the point of that. We also want a team with the ability to be amazing. Team success is a huge component of winning this award. Rodgers won the last 2 years. The Packers won 13 games both years. Lamar in 2019 was on a 14-win Ravens team. Mahomes and the Chiefs won 12 games. Brady and the Patriots 13. Matt Ryan 11. Cam Newton 15. So we're really looking for a team that has upside of winning 12 to 13 games, honestly, now that you have a 17-game schedule. So like right off the bat, like, yes, you might look at like a Trevor Lawrence has a ton of upside. Like maybe you could make a case at the price, but you really have to think about what are the chances the Jaguars can realistically win 12 games this year. So I think it already eliminates a decent amount of people right off the bat if we just narrow it to the quarterbacks and just narrow it to the teams that have a real shot at winning that many games. So those are kind of my parameters here of what I'm looking for. Did you have anything else that you kind of saw when you were looking back through the history or anything that you look at?
So I kind of zeroed in on those 9 quarterbacks. You said 9 straight of one. I wanted to look more modern, and maybe even 9 years is going a little too far back with how the NFL has kind of shifted towards a pass happy type of league. But so I wanted to kind of look at the overall statistics for those 9 quarterbacks. And here's kind of what I extrapolated. Okay, you know what I'm trying to say.
There you go, big words. We're doing it.
All right, so 8 out of these 9 quarterbacks threw for at least 35 touchdowns. 8 out of these 9 quarterbacks threw 10 or fewer interceptions. All of them threw for at least 4,100 yards. That's outside of Cam and Lamar, who obviously had the rushing production to make up for it. Lamar rushed for 1,200 yards and 6 touchdowns. Cam rushed for 600 yards, 10 touchdowns. And like you said, winning is very important. All these quarterbacks won at least 12 games except Matt Ryan, who won 11. And every single one of these quarterbacks were on the team that won their division. So, and yeah, like you said, Adrian Peterson was the last non-quarterback to win the award. He rushed for 2,900 2,900
yards,
2,097 yards and 12 touchdowns. And before that, it was LaDainian Tomlinson in 2006. A wide receiver has never won this award. Like you said,
never? Jeez.
Never has won the award. And interestingly enough, a kicker won the award in 1982. That was Mark Mosley, who went 20 of 21 in field goals with no 50-yarders and also missed 3 extra points in the season. So that must have been a booming year.
That's my favorite NFL trivia question ever that you just created. The kicker that won the MVP award.
So really my big takeaways after I kind of dove into it, don't bet wide receivers because if a wide receiver has a great season, chances are the quarterback's probably most likely going to get the credit and be in that MVP discussion. If you really wanted to bet a running back, it's obviously rare. I think you're going to need some type of unseen stat line or them to break the rushing record to even be considered for the MVP. And even then, maybe not. And lastly, take a shot on a kicker because you really never know. No, I'm just kidding.
Really, you're doing it to the last one.
Really, you're just looking for a quarterback on a team that has potential to win the division and put up those kind of baseline stats that I mentioned somewhere in that range.
Which I do think makes it kind of hard. Like, unfortunately, this is probably the market where I think there's the least amount of value in, just because, like, I think it's priced correctly. Like the favorites, Josh Allen, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers. Like, yeah, if you gave me a list of 5 guys that are most likely to win the award, that's probably the 5. Yeah. And then, you don't even get to a position player to, like, I think 50 to 1, Jonathan Taylor is the first one. So, like, I think this one's priced correctly. I found a couple guys that stand out, but this isn't one that I find like a ton of value in right now. All right, top of the board. Any bets for you that you're looking at, or any guys that you're keeping your eye on that you might consider later in the season?
So what are we considering top of the board here? Is top
Like 20 to 1 and under.
Okay, yeah. So Russell Wilson, as we both kind of touched on
Yeah.
in the AFC West preview, or a guy we're both on. I just think that coming to this new offense, where I think he's going to be turned loose, he's not going to be held back like he was in Seattle. He's going to be with a coach who was just involved with an offense who had the back-to-back MVP. He has the weapons on the outside with Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. And prior to an injury-plagued 2021 season, Russell Wilson had 2 seasons where he threw for 4,200 yards, 40 touchdowns with 13 interceptions, and 4,100 yards with 31 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. I think a quarterback that wins 10-plus games in this division and possibly wins the division has a great case for MVP. So basically, the quarterback that comes out of this division, and if they win 10-plus games, I think has a huge advantage over the rest of the board. So you obviously have Patrick Mahomes in that plus 800 range. You have Justin Herbert's at plus 900. So I like taking the better value on a guy like Russell Wilson at plus 1,400. I think that price is really good.
Yep, totally agree there. That was one that we both agreed on in our AFC West preview, so I'm with you there. What about Lamar Jackson? I know you're pretty high on the Ravens this year. You can find him 20 to 1 on DraftKings. I'm not sure if there's better prices on other sites. Is that one that you would be considering as a Ravens supporter this year?
I'm a little on the fence, and I feel like there's not enough of a baseline for these rushing quarterbacks to almost know what's expected of them. Is it going to be like somewhat of I don't want to say a LeBron effect, not saying Lamar's on that level in any sense. I'm just saying,
all right, take it easy.
No, I'm saying like if Lamar comes out and throws 30 touchdowns and rushes for 1,000 yards, are we already at the point where it's like, oh, that's Lamar Jackson. That's like,
I mean, I would agree, but I feel like what we've seen from Aaron Rodgers the last 2 years, like what did he do last year that he didn't do the year before? Like he basically had the exact same season. The team won the same number of games and they gave it to him again. Like I don't see why they wouldn't do the same for Lamar.
That's true, but am I in a situation where Lamar has to eclipse his MVP season? He threw for, I believe it was 35 touchdowns and then he rushed for the 1,200 yards. Do I need a 40 touchdown season from Lamar? Because
I don't think so.
If that's the case, I don't. I think he can get somewhere in that 30 to 35 range. Yeah, absolutely. And I think 1,000 yards is certainly on the table for him. It's just a matter of, I feel like I look at guys at the top of the board. I feel like people want to give Josh Allen this, or they want to give Justin Herbert this. What is Lamar going to need to do to win this type of award is kind of where I'm torn.
I think it's probably just going to be the Ravens get the number 1 seed in the AFC, and Lamar just has a really good season. I don't even think it matters that much how it compares to the last season he won MVP. I think it's more just like if the Ravens come out as the 1 seed in the AFC and Lamar's awesome, I think they'll give it to him. At least they'll have a really good chance. Obviously, you have to see what happens in the NFC, but I think that would surpass a lot of the other AFC quarterbacks if they got the 1 seed.
Yeah, and the Ravens were 14-2 in his MVP season, so that's
tough bar to clear.
That's what I'm saying. It's a very tough bar to clear. So is it going to, or will they give it to a repeat winner who's right at that those stats where he was when he won? Or are they going to give it to a guy like Josh Allen or Justin Herbert who hasn't won it, or Russell Wilson?
Yeah. It's a lot of good names. You could make a case for a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
All right. What else do you have? Do you have anything else in the top of the board, or do you want to go down a little bit to maybe the mid range, like the 20 to 50 range?
Yeah. Why don't we head to that mid range? Russell Wilson's the only bet I have in right now.
All right, so the 20 to 50 range, it kicks off with some running quarterbacks. Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts are both around 20. I thought Hurts was a guy that's a little bit interesting. I know there were a lot better prices early in the offseason. I certainly wouldn't touch it at 20 to 1, but if you could find something in like the 30s or 40s, I don't hate it.
There's a 25 to 1 on FanDuel.
Yeah, I'd probably need better than that. It's probably not good enough. You've Derek Carr, Matt Ryan, Trey Lance, Kirk Cousins kind of rounding out this tier. Any bets for you in this range that you have for MVP?
No bets for me. I feel like the price, like Trey Lance 25 to 1 is insane to me. Jalen Hurts actually kind of makes sense. I don't know how much value's on it, but the pricing makes sense to me. I think he has a potential to put up that Lamar Jackson type of season. Maybe not the 35 touchdowns, but I could see like 800 rushing yards and maybe 25 to maybe. Yeah,
the stats are going to be hard.
It's tough. It's tough. But I think if you have an Eagles team who goes 12-4 somewhere, something like that, I think he could have a legit case for it.
All right, let's talk about Trey Lance for a second because you mentioned him there for a brief moment. Trey Lance is a guy that I bet to win MVP.
What would you get the odds at?
I got it at 50, but there's still a 40-1 on DraftKings right now, which I think is viable. I don't think I would want to go much lower than that, but I think 40-1 is okay. I think you said 25-1. I agree with you. I'm out there. Here's my case for Trey Lance. He might be awful. I fully acknowledge that. He might be incredible. I have no idea if he's going to be awful or amazing, but I think just the chance that he is amazing, I think is worth betting at these prices. He played 3 games last year, threw for around 200 yards per game, ran for 55 more, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. We know the Niners have all the weapons on offense. George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, an excellent running game, whoever's back there. I think if he can have one of these Lamar seasons, maybe he can get upper 3,000 in the passing yards, get over 1,000 rushing yards. I could easily see the Niners win 12 to 13 games in a weaker NFC. Like, I think that just the chance that he could be awesome, I think is worth betting in this range when he's priced around priced way higher than Derek Carr, priced higher than Matt Ryan, basically the same price as Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry. I just think the guys that he's priced around, I think he should probably be more like the 25-1 that they have on FanDuel.
I don't like
I know you don't like Trey Lance. You've already decided that you hated him, but what if he's just awesome? We don't know.
The other thing is, I almost feel like Lamar Jackson was an outlier, and maybe you could argue Patrick Mahomes. If you look at the winners of these awards, they technically tend to be guys who have been in the league for a few years, made a name for themselves.
Yeah.
You have Aaron Rodgers twice, Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton was in the league for a few years at that point. Rodgers again, Peyton Manning. These are all guys who have been there. And going into the season, we know how great they are. It's not technically a prove it type of year or a most improved player type of season like that. So Lamar almost set this baseline for these guys now to hit. And I don't know that Trey Lance has that Lamar Jackson MVP type of season. I don't know if he has it in him.
All right. I think there's enough upside there that it's worth the price at 40-1.
I wanted to see who else got votes Lamar Jackson season, but the answer is nobody. Lamar got 100% of the first place votes. So
okay, unanimous winner. We don't see that too often.
Yes, no, you do not.
Okay, let's talk about long shots real quick. If you have anything here, I did want to bring up Trevor Lawrence just because I know that you are high on the Jaguars. You find 100-1 not something that you would consider.
No, I don't think it's an MVP season though. I'm playing the Jaguars are the team that I wanted to bet the division, but I also could see them winning 4 games still this year. I don't think.
Right, but we're just talking about upside.
Yeah, no, I know we're talking about upside.
Yeah, I just if they do win the division and win 10 or 11 games, Matt, maybe you can make a case for it. I'm not there either. I just wanted to see if you were.
No, there's really. I was trying to look for a fun 100-1 type long shot, but there was just really nobody in this range that I could see. This award market probably gets the most action, so you're probably going to get the most efficiently priced lines here because I really couldn't find anything outside of Russell Wilson that I felt that I felt comfortable putting money on.
Okay, let me run one more scenario by you here, and I'm doing this at the risk of my own mental health, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Okay.
The Minnesota Vikings.
Yes. What are we talking about?
They win the NFC North. They win 12 games. They're the number 1 or number 2 seed in the NFC. The offense is amazing. Kirk Cousins is slinging it all over the field. Would you consider betting him at 50-1, knowing how high you are on the Vikings, or what's holding you back from that? Because I really expected you to bring it up as an option.
No, I attack their offense in a different way. But look, when you look at these statistical parameters I kind of laid out, 35 touchdowns, 10 or few interceptions with 4,100 yards.
It's doable for Cousins.
It's 100% doable for him. So, I don't hate it. I can't hate it with where my feelings are on the Vikings. I just kind of chose to go a different way with their offense.
I'm not even that high on the Vikings, but I was honestly surprised that he was this much further behind Derek Carr, Jalen Hurts, Matt Ryan, guys like that. I'd rather bet on Kirk Cousins than all those guys, to be honest. I'm not even high on the Vikings.
The important thing you got to remember with these awards is, though, that there's real people voting on these. So there's already what Kirk Cousins already in a lot of people's minds, they know who Kirk Cousins is. So Kirk Cousins has his last 2 seasons statistically have been great. Yeah, the Vikings haven't been great, but I'm just saying, he's been good, and he still has this reputation of on the NFL top 100 list, Mac Jones was ranked in front of him. So there's no respect for Kirk Cousins. So it's
true.
These are different types of bets where you actually have to consider the narrative and how people actually feel about these players. Everyone loves Josh Allen. Everyone loves Justin Herbert. So those are all beyond statistical hurdles. Now you got to overcome like the voters' minds. Like you had that one voter last year saying, I don't care how good Aaron Rodgers did, I'm not voting for him. Yeah. As much as we want to think these people aren't biased, they are biased.
Some of them definitely are, yeah.
So you get we get a and for in all honesty, some of these voters, one, I don't know all of them are. They might not even watch as much football as you, me, and the next guy. We could get one primetime Kirk Cousins game where he has a bad game, but he plays well the other 16 games, and all they remember is that one primetime game that they watch Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Anything left to say on the MVP? Or are you ready to move on to Offensive Player of the Year?
Let's move on.
All right. OPOY usually goes to the best year by a skill position player unless a quarterback does something truly special, is kind of what I gathered from looking at some of the past winners. There is a very high correlation on this award between like the best fantasy football player. If you're someone that plays fantasy, you can kind of think about it as like who you think's going to project as the number one player in fantasy. Past winners: Cooper Kupp, Derrick Henry, Michael Thomas, Patrick Mahomes, Todd Gurley, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, DeMarco Murray, yada, yada, yada. 6 of the last 10 winners were running backs or wide receivers. And the quarterbacks that won this basically threw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, or were Cam Newton because of his rushing ability. There was one odd season. The Matt Ryan season where he won MVP and won Offensive Player of the Year, like he really wasn't even that good. Like he threw 38 touchdown passes on a team that won 11 games. And I can't figure out how he won. Like the MVP, fine. Like I don't know why he won this award, honestly. But typically you basically need a 5,000 passing yard, 50 touchdown season if you're going to win this at a quarterback. So I'm looking at more skill position players here. What do you have on who you're looking for? What kind of the statistics we need here? What do you have?
All right. So there's only ever been 4 wide receivers who won this award, but it's been twice in the last 3 years. So I think that just kind of speaks to where the NFL is shifting, like I said. So despite the lack of success for wide receivers in this award market, both my bets in this market are on wide receivers.
Okay.
From the year 2000 on, there's been 9 players who have won MVP and Offensive Player of the Year in the same season. So it's, that's not a bad hit rate. 9 out of what's that? 22. 9 out of 22 have won MVP and Offensive. So that's, so there are, and it's kind of tough to, like you said, you need like that 5,000 yard, 40 to 50 touchdown season to do it. And then the other note I have is 9 straight, not surprising, have all been on offenses that are in the top 10 of points scored, and every QB that has won this award has been on the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL. So a couple things to keep in mind. Pick guys. So I'm really looking for an explosive player on an offense that has potential to be top 10. And if I'm taking a quarterback, I need like a quarterback that I feel confident has potential to be the number 1. On the number 1 scoring offense. So a guy like, Kirk Cousins, maybe. I don't think the Vikings are going to be a number 1 scoring offense, top 10, absolutely, but number 1. So Kirk Cousins is a guy, no, not on the board for this. So the first bet I have is on that Vikings offense, and it's Justin Jefferson at
obviously plus, you and everyone else on earth.
I think look, last year, Jefferson had 167 targets, 1,616 yards, and 10 touchdowns. That was the 4th most receptions in the NFL, the 2nd most yards, and the 6th most touchdowns. Had Cooper Kupp not had this otherworldly, unseen type of season, Justin Jefferson easily could have been up there in the conversation. You really take out Kupp's year, and Jefferson's probably the best receiver in the league. So you now have a Vikings offense, like I said, very capable of being in the top 10. New head coach, it's going to go in a new direction, probably going to pass the ball even more. And you have a head coach that was just in charge of an offense or involved with an offense that had the Offensive Player of the Year last year. So Justin Jefferson could easily slide into that Cooper Kupp type of role where he was already getting peppered with targets last year, but we could see 180 plus targets in this offense this year if they're throwing the ball more and they're running a similar scheme to what the what the Rams did last year. So you get any bit of improvement from Justin Jefferson, and as good as Kupp was, you got to naturally expect some regression, because that was a historic type of season for him. You can't put up these historic numbers every year. So at plus 1,500, I still think that is that's a great price for Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. I think the price was a little bit better early in the offseason. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Justin Jefferson's definitely likely to win the award, so I don't mind it. Any other bets for you at the top of the board? I don't really have anything. I don't mind the idea on Justin Jefferson. I kind of like Ja'Marr Chase. I think he's like 30 to 35 to 1. Not sure if I'm going to bet it yet, but I am pretty high on the Bengals offense this year. I could see them having a monster season and just Ja'Marr Chase absolutely explode. So that's kind of the one guy that stands out for me, but I'm not really interested in anyone else at the top of the board here. Definitely wouldn't look at like a Debo or Derrick Henry. I think they're like 2 of the top 4 favorites right now, which I think is crazy.
Yeah, the way I look at Ja'Marr Chase, if I'm kind of looking at him, and I would have had to go back and look at this. Well, I guess the receivers is kind of since there's always only been 4 to win, we don't really have much to go off of. If Ja'Marr Chase has this monster season again, are we going to be talking more about Joe Burrow in the MVP conversation than we are about Ja'Marr Chase in the offensive player of the year situation? I guess it's kind of, since we really don't have much to go off of in terms of receivers. It'd be an interesting discussion. Now, maybe they could win it in the same year, but that obviously hasn't been seen as of yet.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point to bring up. Yeah, it's hard to know exactly how it'll play out and who will get the credit if it's because like Cooper Kupp won last year, but like Matthew Stafford was never really in discussion for the MVP. So yeah.
So it's almost like you want if you're taking a receiver, you want a quarterback that's a great quarterback, but not necessarily that MVP type of discussion guy.
Enter Kirk Cousins.
Enter Kirk Cousins, exactly.
Perfect spot. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, let's go mid-range, like 100 to 1 and under. Do you have anything here? Any guys that stand out?
We're considering 100 to 1 mid-range.
Well, I have 2 of them that are 150 to 1, so I figure we have, all right, 75 to 1 and under.
All right, this one I really love, and this was the one I said talking about a huge price discrepancy. So this one is plus 6,600 on BetMGM. It was plus 4,000 on DraftKings. So massive discrepancy. And I liked it when I saw it at the plus 4,000 on DraftKings. So, and it's CeeDee Lamb. And this is based on the price. And I just think it is way off if you look at the guys priced around him here. We haven't seen a true breakout season from CeeDee Lamb yet. He steadily improved from year 1 to year 2, coming off a 79 catch, 1,100 yard and 6 TD season. He had 112 and 111 targets the last 2 years. I could realistically see him getting 150 plus targets this year with the departure of Amari Cooper, the health issues of Michael Gallup, and he's really now the guy in this passing offense. Cooper departing alone leaves 103 vacated targets from just last year in the offense. And it's a team that wants to pass the ball. They've been top 5 in pass attempts each of the last 2 seasons. And Dak is a good enough quarterback to support a monster season from his wide receiver 1, especially when it's a guy that it's really the only weapon in the passing game on this offense. So I just think price wise, 66 to 1 is pretty insane to me.
I'm with you. That is a really good price. I don't know if I love the player himself. I feel like everyone like seems to think that CeeDee Lamb is amazing. And every time I watch him, like I get that he's incredibly talented, but like it just seems like every time I watch him, he does something stupid. He drops a pass that's right through his hands. Like I just see so much unrealized potential. Like maybe this is the season he actually realizes that potential, but I don't know. So some part of me is just like, maybe he's just not that good. Like maybe he's just a pretty good receiver, not like an amazing one.
But it's only been 2 years. 2 years.
Yeah,
and look, he went from 900 yards to 1,100 yards. And like I said, there's a ton of targets that are going to be vacated in this offense. And with 120 targets last year, when I said realistically 150 plus targets, he's probably getting 150 plus targets. So yeah. I just think the 66 to 1 is a fantastic price. So this one I was pretty excited about.
Okay. What would be the last price you would bet it
at? I would take the 40 to 1 on DraftKings. I think that's still a great price.
All right.
I mean, you look at the guys he's priced around. All right, on
Stephon Diggs 45. That's pretty comparable. Kelsey 40 to 1. Make a case for either of those guys.
Yeah, I have to pull up BetMGM to see who's priced around there. But who do you got?
For me, I'm kind of going back and forth on this one. I have Aaron Jones at 75-1 on FanDuel. I think he's really going to have a massive role with Devontae Adams gone. I think he's going to be kind of like a Debo Kamara
What were the
CMC.
odds?
75-1 is the best you can get right now.
Okay, so another one, huge discrepancy because he is also 40-1
Yes.
on DraftKings.
Yeah. In 8 career games without Devontae Adams, he's basically averaging, if you extrapolate it out over seasons, basically multiply it by 2, close to 1,000 rush yards, 800 receiving yards, 20 total touchdowns. So I think maybe if he can have like a 1,000 season and get a ton of touchdowns, I could see it. The only thing that's holding me back a little bit is the one thing that you said kind of off the top, is that we're really looking for if not the top scoring offense, at least one of them. And I do think even though the Packers have Aaron Rodgers, I'm expecting them to take some sort of a step back on offense and kind of lean on their defense. So that's the only hesitation I have. But I think it's 75-1. I could see a massive season from Aaron Jones, just kind of filling that void from Devontae Adams because they really didn't do anything else to address it.
Yeah, I like the price.
Okay. All right. Any long shots for you? 100-1 and up?
No, 100-1 and up. I thought 66-1 was a long shot, but apparently that's to you. That's middle tier.
I have 2 of them at 150-1.
Right, what do you got?
The one I think I mentioned on our NFC South division pod, it's a long shot. That's why it's 150-1. But DJ Moore, 150, 1,150 yards in 3 straight seasons, has to be due for some positive touchdown regression. Only 4 in the last 3 seasons. So now playing with the best quarterback in his life. Look, I think it's a long shot. I know that the Panthers offense,
well, let's be clear. The best quarterback in DJ Moore's life is not saying much.
Still a fact, though. I can still add it to my case. Baker Mayfield might not be amazing, but he's still better than whatever the heck else he's played with. But I think CMC, DJ Moore, maybe the Panthers offense could be a little bit better than we're expecting. Maybe they win 10 games, surprise some people. I can see it at the price.
Yeah.
Pass for you.
Yeah, I think I said this on the NFC pod. I'm not going to shoot down 150-1 long shot, but I don't love it.
All right. Let me see if I can convince you on this next one. I think this next one's actually pretty good. Right. Mike Williams, 150-1. Chargers project to have a top 5 offense. Could honestly have the best offense in the league. Wouldn't surprise me at all. We know Justin Herbert's an MVP candidate. I don't know if that helps or hurts Mike Williams, but finished last season 76 receptions, 1,150 yards, 9 touchdowns, a better season than CeeDee Lamb had. And through their week 6 bye, he was on pace for 93 catches, 1,700 yards, and 17 touchdowns. Fell off a little bit towards the end of the season, but Keenan Allen's now 30 years old. I think he takes a slight step back just due to age. Mike Williams really emerges as Justin Herbert's number 1 weapon. And I mean, like I said, I think this offense could be the best in the league. No shot. So I thought that price was pretty crazy.
Yeah, you just need the consistency from him. It's always been,
I know that's the problem.
Monster week, and then he disappears
25 yards.
Yeah. I feel like half of his production in the season is done within 4 games, and the rest he's just he's gone. But he certainly, if he puts it all together and he kind of takes over as that go-to guy in the offense, he could, because we saw games last year where he had 10 plus targets and started out the season as one of the best receivers. So I think it's there for the taking, possibly. So
okay. Anything left to say on offensive player of the year?
Nope.
All right, let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Defensive player of the year, DPOY. Pass rushers have dominated this award for the past 10 seasons. 8 of the last 10 winners were pass rushers. TJ Watt, Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack, and JJ Watt. The only 2 to break this rule were linebacker Luke Kuechly back in 2013, and then Patriots cornerback Stephon Gilmore won it in 2019. And we kind of saw a great example of this last year. Trayvon Diggs had an all-world, blow-your-mind type of season, 11 touchdowns, multiple pick sixes, led the league by 3 full interceptions over the next highest cornerback. Want to guess how many votes he received for this award last year? 0. Didn't even sniff it. TJ Watt got 84% of the votes. Micah Parsons got a few, and Aaron Donald got a few. So really what we're looking for is the guy that's going to lead the league in sacks, or at least be top 5 in sacks and on an incredible defense. I don't think there's necessarily like your defense has to be like number 1 overall, but I think you want a guy on a good defense that's going to get a ton of sacks. That was pretty much my parameters here. Did you have anything that stuck out to you when you were looking back at the past winners?
Yeah, so to me, the last point you said, I don't think that the defense matters as much. It seems that the past 10 winners I looked at were really in and out of the top 10 in terms of scoring
Right.
defenses. So the individual performance, I think, outweighs the team performance. Interestingly, of the 8 pass rushers who won the award over the last 10 years, only 5 of them actually led the league in sacks. So Aaron Donald finished 10th in sacks. Khalil Mack finished 9th, and JJ Watt finished 2nd. So
Wow.
I think there's something to be said for those big name type of guys that reputation can kind of carry you a little bit if you have a good season in the sack department and just are an overall impactful player on the defensive end. But that being said, sacks obviously very important. I'm still looking for a guy that I think has potential to lead the league in sacks or at least finish a top 3. So and yeah, I had the same thing written down about Trayvon Diggs, led the league in interceptions and multiple touchdowns and didn't even receive a vote. So definitely looking for pass rushers here. Again, it's just the way the league has gone. So 8 players have actually won the award multiple times, including JJ Watt and Aaron Donald over the past 10 years. So TJ Watt is certainly a consideration for me at plus 800. He did just get hurt in the preseason game today, but they said it's not, shouldn't be anything serious. So hopefully he's okay there. So plus 800 for TJ Watt is still on the board for me. And the other guy I have is Nick Bosa at 15-1. He had 15 and a half sacks. 15 and a half sacks last year in a season where he came back from an injury from the prior year, and he was battling injuries throughout the season. He had 4 sacks in the postseason. So I think this is a guy that has potential to lead the league in sacks. And I also see him as a guy that kind of has that, he has the name, he has the pedigree, he was that high draft pick, big college player and well known. So I think if he gets up near that 20 sack range, which I think he does have potential to, I think he's a good bet at 15-1. Much better bet than his brother Joey, who's priced right around him.
Sorry, while you're saying that, I just got a tweet from Adam Schefter. Commanders rookie running back Brian Robinson was shot multiple times.
Yeah, I saw that. Very prayers go out to Brian Robinson, apparently in an attempted burglary. So hopefully he's okay. Yes, very terrible.
Don't get that alert every day.
No.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good call on Nick Bosa. He is not someone that I've bet so far, but I think at the top of the board, that's probably a pretty good look. I think TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald, I think they're all deserved favorites. Micah Parsons. I'm not going to bet any of them just because I don't see a ton of value, but I think the top of the board makes sense to me. I have a couple long shots here that I'm going to take a stab at, but nothing really for me at the top of the board.
Okay.
I think I was kind of considering Rashawn Gary. I don't think I'm going to pull the trigger. He's like 35-1. It's the best price you can get. I've been hearing a lot of buzz around him. He broke out a little bit last year, 9.5 sacks in his first full season as a starter. Former number 12 overall pick out of Michigan. I think the Packers defense could be a little bit more strong than people think, getting Jair Alexander back in an already awesome secondary. They also added 2 defensive players out of Georgia in the first round. So I could see a breakout for Gary. I just don't know, like you said, about like the pedigree and the name. People don't really know who he is that much. I don't know if the price is long enough. The next guy for me, Trey Hendrickson, I mentioned him on the AFC North podcast. Well, actually, you did when I said I like them to potentially lead the league in sacks. So 50-1, he is the 3rd most sacks combined over the last 2 seasons, behind only TJ Watt and Myles Garrett. And I just think, the price where he is now, he's currently priced behind Chase Young, who might not play for the first month, Derwin James, Jalen Ramsey, and Darius Leonard. Like, that just makes no sense to me. So,
yeah.
Do you
have
Darius
Leonard, who's going to miss a portion of the season?
Yeah, exactly. Him and Chase Young, we don't even know if they're going to play.
Darius Leonard is now Shaquille Leonard, but he's still listed.
I know,
they
keep listing. Yeah, I don't know what to call him. Like, some markets still listed as Darius, but his name is Shaquille. I don't know.
Yeah.
Leonard, that guy on the Colts. All right, who do you have next that you have a bet on?
That was actually my only bet.
I thought you said you had 2. Okay.
No, that was it for Defensive Player of the Year.
All right, 2 long shots to run by you.
Okay.
Shaq Barrett. There's a 66-1 on PointsBet. The Bucks edge rusher led the league in sacks 2 years ago with 19.5. That was the year before Tom Brady got to Tampa. So unfortunately, instead of potentially having a chance to win the award, I think if Brady there, if this was a 12-win team and has all the hype, instead they finished He finished fourth in voting because the Bucks only won 7 games that year. Stephon Gilmore, the Patriots shutdown corner, ended up winning it on a 12-win team. So only 8 and 10 sacks the last 2 years. But I think if on the Bucks, they're a pretty high profile team. If he can get back to maybe a 15 sack season, I thought there was some value at 66-1 just because he's kind of shown that pedigree.
How old is he now? Isn't he getting up there?
I think he's 29 this season. So like he's getting up there,
all
but
right.
it
He's
wasn't
got
to the
some
point
years
where,
left.
I think he was still young enough where it was okay.
Because I was actually looking at Chandler Jones in that same range, but he's going. I feel like he's already.
How old is he?
I think he was 32 or 33. Yeah. So I feel like he kind of peaked. He had a big season a couple of years ago. He had a pretty good year last year. So, but that age just kind of scares me away from it a little bit.
Okay.
There are some guys that are pretty ridiculously priced in some of these awards. Like I already said, Darius / Shaquille Leonard, 30-1 is crazy to me. Chase Young, who's missing the first 4 games of the season, of
these guys, they just don't even bother changing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
there'll be guys who are out for the year that are still listed on some of these markets.
Yeah.
All right. So we were talking about not liking betting on old guys. What if we go the complete opposite direction and bet on one of the youngest players in the league? What about Aiden Hutchinson at 200-1? Now, look, we don't have precedence for rookies winning the award. Several players have won it in year 2, but last year, Micah Parsons was the second or third favorite in the betting market pretty much the whole year. Ended up finishing in second place, only got 5 votes, but he finished second place for this award last year. What if Aiden Hutchinson is just a monster? 14 sacks his last year at Michigan, obviously the number 2 overall pick. Here's the thing that I like. I know that it's going to be a tough case to make that the Lions are going to have a great defense, so they're going to win enough games to really have Hutchinson considered. The good thing for Hutchinson is if this Lions team does win, let's say 9 or 10 games, the defense is respectable. I think he's going to get all the credit and he's totally live for this award. Whereas, if the Bucs defense is awesome, it could be because of a number of guys. It could be because Vita Vea stopped the run. Like if the Lions defense is awesome, it's because of Aiden Hutchinson. I think 200-1 is worth something.
Yeah, we don't, like I said, we don't bet shame these long shots. It's just like you said, it's just so unprecedented to have a rookie. And yeah, Micah Parsons.
We almost saw it last year.
I know.
Like
so
no one thought the Cowboys defense was going to be good.
It's just so hard to see a guy getting like 20, like upwards of that 20 sack range. Cause I feel like if he's even within range of like the TJ Watts of the world or the Nick Bosa's, they're going to give it to those guys over him. Now, I think he would realistically need to lead the league in sacks to win this award.
Possible. So maybe makes a few big plays on primetime. Yeah. That could sway some people. It seems like a likable guy. People know his name,
and he's got the Hard Knocks narrative.
Yeah, Hard Knocks narrative for sure.
Yeah, so I don't hate it. It's 200-1. Throw some pizza money at it, and then consider it lost money. And if you win,
for the price of a whole pizza, you could. You're winning thousands of dollars off one pizza.
Depends on where you're getting the pizza.
Anywhere. I think $5 gets you over 1,000.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
How many $4 pizzas out there?
What are Domino's pizzas? Aren't they? Don't they have like a $5 deal or something?
No one eats All right. Anything left for you on defensive player of the year?
No.
All right, let's head to the young guns. Offensive rookie of the year. So my notes on this one: any position can win the award. Over the last 10 years, we have 4 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 2 wide receivers. Last few winners: Jamar Chase, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, Saquon, Kamara, Dak with the last 6. Team success does not matter. Doesn't hurt, but it's definitely not a requirement. So in the last few winners, Jamar Chase was on a 10-win Bengals team last year. Obviously just beat out Mac Jones on another Patriots team that was very good. But prior to that, Herbert won 7 games with the Chargers. Kyler was on a 5-win Cardinals team. Saquon was on a 5-11 Giants team. So I think this was, when I was talking about Dameon Pierce last week, you don't necessarily have to rule out a guy just because the team's only going to win 5 or 6 games. It's not a requirement.
So 3 of the last 12 were on teams that won 10 games. That's it. And then 7 actually played on teams below 500. So that's since 2010.
Okay. Did you have any other notes on this one?
Yeah, so I actually came across an article, and since I'm just taking these numbers right from the article, it was from Brandon Anderson at the Action Network. So this is about where the guys were drafted who have won this award. So Here's the breakdown that I got from his article. So over the last 18 seasons, 15 offensive rookies of the year were first round draft picks. 14 of the 18 were top 12 picks, and 11 of them were taken in the top 7. Now, this year, there were no quarterbacks, running backs, or wide receivers drafted in the top 7. 4 wide receivers went top 12, only 1 quarterback in the first round, and no running back. So generally, you're looking for a first round draft pick in the most part. You're trying to get a higher draft pick now this year. Maybe not the best to use those parameters, but I felt like that's worth noting when looking at this award.
Okay. I love that you brought that up. I think that's I just want to look at this market as a whole before we go into our actual bets, because I think
Can we please?
My brain hurts when I just look at it. All right, let's start at the top of the board. Breece Hall is the favorite right now at DraftKings at plus 850. He's in a committee backfield on a bottom 10 offense and one of the worst teams in football on the Jets.
He's 12-1 on FanDuel for fit. Kenny Pickett is the favorite on FanDuel.
So depending on where you're looking, Breece Hall, Kenny Pickett, probably at the top of the board. Kenny Pickett, the second favorite on DraftKings, might not play a game this season. And if he misses even the first 3 or 4, he already can't win because he's not going to be able to put up enough stats. Sky Moore is competing for targets with 8 other Chiefs wide receivers and was not drafted in the first round, like you just said. George Pickens, don't even know who his quarterback is.
Dude, George Pickens
competing for targets with 3 other guys.
This guy was 100-1 2 weeks ago.
He caught 1 pass in preseason, and all of a sudden he's the favorite.
Unbelievable. This guy is this high. What is he on DraftKings right now?
10-1.
All right, he's 9-1 on FanDuel. He's he is tied for the number 1 odds on FanDuel with Kenny Pickett right now.
Unbelievable. And then I checked today, and Romeo Dubs is up.
Yes,
he's now 11-1. Where the heck did this guy come from?
It's unbelievable. This list of guys. I really cannot believe it.
Okay, so when we read that, the first reaction has to be, okay, so there must be value down the board. The problem is, I'm having such a hard time finding it. It's there, but I don't know. I have a couple bets in, but I don't really feel great about any of these. This market is just hurting my head.
Well, I absolutely love Chris Olave. To me, he should be the odds on favorite.
He is my favorite one.
He should be the odds on favorite at 8-1. He has a prime opportunity to separate himself from the pack in the beginning of the season. He's going to be playing. Michael Thomas just hurt his
starting wide receiver.
Michael Thomas just got hurt again. There's a realistic chance Michael Thomas isn't there to start the season. Chris Olave is probably the number 1 target on the team. I know Jarvis Landry's there, but he's not.
Yeah, he's old.
He's fine. I mean, but he has a real shot to be the number 1 receiver on this team. Even if Michael Thomas plays, all the reports from camp are that he has a great rapport with Jameis Winston. Winston's constantly looking his way. I know we still don't fully know the version of Jameis we're getting and what this offense is going to look like, but the fact that George Pickens is priced ahead of him on a Steelers offense and he's going to be arguably the 3rd target in this offense, it makes 0 sense to me, these prices. So Chris Olave, just for the fact that I think he should be the odds on favorite, I absolutely love taking a piece of him. So he's a guy that I could see, I'm taking him now at 10-1. 4 weeks in the season, I could see myself, if it goes to plan, I would eat more odds and take him at 5-1 again if he starts separating himself, because I think there's a realistic chance we get halfway through the season and the value's 100% gone on him.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, like you just said, he's one of these guys that we can project for targets and usage and stuff right off the bat. So I think he's one of the ones that you can make the strongest case for, that his odds are most likely to drop early in the season. Maybe he ends up winning the award, maybe he doesn't, but I feel very strongly that 3 or 4 weeks in, his price is going to go from 10-1 down to 2 or 3-1. So yeah. I'm with you. He's probably the one that I feel the best about. Do you have any other ones outside of him that you really like? Because I have a couple that I can make a case for, but nothing that I really like, honestly.
Well, unfortunately, the other guy I had on my radar was Brian Robinson, but now not knowing the status of him, I hope I hope he's okay, not for the purposes of my bets, obviously, but as a human being. So, so outside of Chris Olave, then nothing else for me.
So if reports are Brian Robinson is fine, what price do you have on him? 20-1?
20-1, and I just think there's Antonio Gibson. He has these fumbling issues. They've really been, I know he had a couple big seasons, but they love working in JD McKissick in the passing game. It just feels like last year was very non-committal to Antonio Gibson. He had a bad fumble in the preseason. They spent some higher draft capital on Brian Robinson, and I think these Alabama running backs have some have obviously pedigree of having some success in the NFL. So I could see him being the goal line back, and if Gibson has a fumble or two early in the season, I could see him taking over as the top dog there and scoring double-digit touchdowns and maybe 1,000 yards.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, I know Dameon Pierce. He's a guy that we talked about last week. I think he was like 25-1. He's now like down to 13 or 14. I probably wouldn't take it there. Drake London, like I like the talent, but I just can't trust Mariota. I wouldn't touch him at 14-1. Treylon Burks is kind of interesting, like just a high draft pick down to 18-1. Like the fact that he's priced behind all these guys that were drafted in like the second and third round, like you don't love the Titans offense. It's just so tough. Like I could make a case for a lot of them, but it's not a strong case. It just God, I feel like there has to be value somewhere, and I just can't.
So about 50% of the time, a quarterback wins this award over recent years, and then
but there are none.
So I'm saying if a quarterback, if any of these guys get in, whether it's Pickett, so betting Pickett now is anyone betting Kenny Pickett right now, it 0 sense to me, because after week 1, when Kenny Pickett doesn't play, if Chris Olave scores a touchdown, you're already losing value on Pickett. He's gonna go. He's gonna go over 10-1. So if week 3 Pickett comes in because Trubisky gets hurt or whatever, or if Malik Willis comes in, I want a piece of a quarterback. But I feel like they have how many games would you say they need to play to win this award? Like if a guy misses 4 games not starting, is 13 games enough?
I think it's got to be like 14 or 15 minimum.
I think 13 is enough only because Chris Olave to me is the only guy I can see putting up really big numbers. Now that's just right now. Things can obviously change.
Right. It depends on the competition. Yeah.
I'm just looking at this list of guys, and in those first 4 weeks of the season, who I don't see anyone that I'm looking at like, yeah, this guy could have a monster 4 weeks and really pull away from the pack. Maybe you can make a case for Breece Hall, but he's still, like you said, he's on a crappy offense.
No.
He's going to be
how could you make a case for Breece Hall? I don't understand.
I'm just saying. So I'm looking at the list. There's really not that type of guy. So if I'm getting Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis, or even like a Sam Howell starting in week 4 of the season, I would just take a flyer on them because I want a piece of a quarterback.
Yeah, I think it's something you can evaluate at that time and kind of see what statistics have been put up to date. I mean, you also have to account for the fact that they're a rookie quarterback coming in on probably a team that's not doing that great. So like they're probably not just going to come in and start throwing for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns every game. They might have the first few weeks where they suck and put up almost no statistics themselves. So it takes them even more time to get up and running. So
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think this is an award that, hopefully we can kind of look at throughout the season and try and identify some value. Maybe there's some injuries in the backfield. Maybe a guy like Isaiah Pacheco is getting a ton of buzz, gets like more opportunity. Maybe James Cook emerges in Buffalo, something. But like right now, it's just so hard. I think a lot of these guys just have so much going against them that's really hard to make a case for anyone.
Yeah. But but kind of like you, I'm just mind blown by the prices in this market.
I know, it just sucks. I feel like when you have there's 6 guys at the top of the board that I would never bet in a million years, and I feel like there should be more value in other people.
Yeah.
All right, ready to go to the last one, Defensive Rookie of the Year?
Yep.
All right, so just like we talked about for Defensive Player of the Year, you want edge rushers, and that's about it here. 8 of the last 12 winners and 3 of the last 4 have been pass rushers. Last few years, Micah Parsons, Chase Young, Nick Bosa. The bar for number of sacks really isn't even that high, at least for the past
7,
few
right?
winners. Yeah, so Parsons had an incredible year last year, 13.5 sacks, but he was the outlier. Chase Young, only 7.5 sacks. Bosa had 9. The other Bosa had 10.5. Aaron Donald had 9. So, I mean, you're really only looking in that like 8 to 10 sack range, and you have a real good shot. And if you're betting on a guy that's not a pass rusher, you probably need like all of the top guys to only finish with like 5 or 6 sacks, which just seems like a long shot considering the top of the NFL draft was pass rusher.
Yeah. So like offensive rookie of the year, I do have the breakdown for the draft capital as well in this one. So this century, so that's 22 defensive rookie of defensive rookies of the year, all 22 of them were at least a top 39 pick, with 19 of them, so 19 of 22 being a first round pick. 18 of them, so we're talking 82%, were top 15 picks, which narrows the field a ton.
Yeah.
And then similar to the offensive rookie of the year, winning doesn't matter. We just want a guy who was drafted high and can get a ton of sacks, basically. So I have no problem laying the chalk here with Aiden Hutchinson. He's down to plus 450. I took him at plus 500 the other day. I just think you bet Aiden Hutchinson, and then maybe you look to take a long shot somewhere else. So Trayvon Walker was the number one pick, but he was more picked for his freakish athleticism than he really was for his production. He only had 9.5 sacks in his career at Georgia, despite all that talent around him. So it's not like defenses were looking to double team Trayvon Walker. So
yeah,
Kayvon Thibodeaux is already injured and could miss a couple of games. And then you get in that long shot range with guys like Sam Williams. So there's no production questions with Aiden Hutchinson. Like you said, he had 14 sacks last year at Michigan. He's a shoe-in for a ton of playing time on this defense. And the last I didn't write the number. It was last 2 or 3 winners of this award were actually plus 700 or less in the preseason. So there's no shame in taking the favorite here. So realistically, I think he could be another guy that we're looking at plus 200 after the first few weeks of the season.
Yeah, and I think, we've kind of seen through the markets that we've gone through so far, like we haven't really been betting the favorites in any of these markets, at least not the top 2 or 3 guys. But yeah, I think this is one where Aiden Hutchinson is just an absolute no-brainer. I bet him a couple times this offseason, still love the price at plus 450. I don't mind. Yeah, Thibodeau's kind of weird now. Like he was a guy that I was looking at. I actually have a bet on him from like a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or 2 ago. But now with the injury situation, we kind of have to know, like I'd want to know if he's playing week 1, obviously, because kind of like what we just talked about with Kenny Pickett. If Kayvon Thibodeau's not there week 1, there's no point in betting him now because his price is never going to get shorter. So, Sam Williams, DM for the Cowboys, he was a guy that we talked about a little bit. He's obviously not fitting that kind of top of the draft pick. He was, I think, the 56th overall pick, but did have a ton of college production. Like he had more sacks in his last season than George Karlaftis and Trayvon Walker combined. There's just not a ton of edge rushers this year. So I think this is really Hutchinson's award to lose. He kind of has the most hype and buzz around him just from Hard Knocks, just from being a prime player in college that everyone kind of knows. So I think that if he has even a decent level season, I think they're going to give it to him. I'd be pretty surprised if he doesn't win it if he stays healthy.
Yeah, so it was the last 3 favorites last 3 winners were plus 700 or better to start the year, and 7 of the last 10 were plus 900 or shorter to start the season. So you're kind of narrowing the field there a little bit already. So favorites definitely a good shot to win this award. So Aiden Hutchinson, I'd say if he's healthy, I feel pretty comfortable about him getting to that 7.5 sack mark or better, and being you're going to have, and look, it's worth talking about. You and I aren't necessarily hedgers, but if you have a ticket on Aiden Hutchinson, there's a good chance if he's healthy, he's going to be in the top 2 for it. So, if you're someone that likes to hedge, you're going to have opportunities throughout the season, I think, with this one.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Anything left to say? Anyone else you would consider?
Nope.
All right. Last market, comeback player of the year. It's going to be a fun one.
All right.
All right. So just right off the top, this award to me is absolutely wild. The comeback. All right. So what
you want me to take this one? I got the numbers right. Right. All right. The award's been since 1998. That's when the award started. So we have 25 winners. 15 of the 25 winners were coming off a season where an injury cost them a large portion or all of the season. 15 of the 25 were quarterbacks. So QBs are winning this award unless there were other players like an Eric Berry or a Teddy Bruschi that are coming off a freak medical condition, or if there were no quarterbacks really coming off injury. There's only been 2 winners of this award that were on a team that had a losing record, and it was Alex Smith, who basically won the award since he stepped back on the football.
Still made the playoffs too. I mean, they were like a terrible team.
And then the other one was all the way back in 1999. It was a defensive tackle, Bryant Young. So I want a quarterback coming off an injury with a chance at a winning record. So that's what I'm looking at here.
Okay. Totally agree there. So when we look at the board, like I think the thing that I was going to say was it's just wild to me, like the range of different narratives that people are coming into the season with. Derrick Henry is currently the betting favorite at plus 400. he's coming back for an injury that he already came back from. Like he
Yeah.
literally already came back last year and played in a playoff game. How is he going to win comeback player of the year when he already came back? Travis Etienne is 20-1. He's never played in the NFL. How can you have a comeback if you never even arrived? And then
Cam
you have
Akers,
guys,
another one.
another one, yeah. And then you have guys that aren't even coming back from anything. They just suck. Like Daniel Jones, Mitch Trubisky, Saquon Barkley, Marcus Mariota. Like, what are they coming back from? Sucking?
Whoa. Daniel Jones missed a good portion of the season last year, buddy.
He just sucks. They didn't even want him down the street. It wasn't a real injury. It was just like a disaster. Maybe it was an injury. He just sucked. Allen Robinson, same thing. He basically decided he didn't want to play football last year. So now we're going to award him if he decides to care again this year. Like, what is this award? There's just
Deshaun Watson was at one point the favorite in the offseason to win this award. I just want to point that out. And what is he coming back from?
Yeah.
We don't have to
illegal
go there.
Activities that should force him to go to jail.
What are we coming back from, Deshaun? Come on.
Yeah, so the recent winners, I think you touched on some of this. Joe Burrow came back from a torn ACL. Alex Smith almost had his leg amputated. Ryan Tannehill did win from coming back from sucking when he was on the Dolphins, so it is possible. And then Andrew Luck missed the entire season in 2017 with a shoulder injury, and then Keenan Allen and Jordy Nelson both came off major injuries the year before. So I think we're looking at a guy that's coming off an injury, but it is just wild to see like just the variety of different things going on here. Guys getting injured, guys sucking, guys that already came back. It's just... Any bets for you at the top of the board?
Yeah, so it's Jameis Winston. He fits the mold
absolutely.
Perfectly. I mean, he is literally. We say all these parameters. It's Jameis Winston. So,
and on top of all of them, like everyone loves Jameis. Like you watch the videos of him like talking to his team. He's amazing. Everyone loves this guy. Yeah, I think they would give it to him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and I think the Saints. We're both fairly high on the Saints, and they're definitely a team that has a shot to have a winning record and make a push at the postseason. So I think he should be the odds-on favorite. Like you, I really don't understand the Derrick Henry coming back from an injury he came back from. So
who decided he is the favorite?
I don't know. So to me, Jameis is the favorite, and I absolutely love taking a piece of him.
Are you going to make a case for Daniel Jones? You seem pretty offended when I kind of dismissed him. Man.
I am, because he's 8-1 on DraftKings and he's 20-1 on FanDuel.
That's a big difference.
Find me another quarterback on this list besides Jameis who fits that mold. He missed 6+ games last year.
I have a guy I kind of like.
Okay, he missed 6 games last year. We're both we're both higher on the Giants than we were last year. Obviously, I'm not saying they have a potential. Would I pick them to have a 9-8 record? No, but I do think it's out of the realm of possibility. No, it's certainly possible. And if something happens with Jameis, to me, Daniel Jones 20-1. That is a fantastic price. You already mentioned some of the guys that are priced ahead of him here. Like Chase Young is the same price on FanDuel 21. He's going to be missing 4 games and he's a pass rusher. Juju is 20-1. Baker's 12-1.
Marcus Mariota.
Michael Thomas is 16-1. The dude, this dude's he's already injured and he might not even feel like playing football halfway through the season. So I don't understand Daniel Jones being priced 20-1. And that's a narrative to me. If the Giants come out and have a great season and Daniel Jones is a good season, I think he could definitely get some votes for this award.
Okay, now here's the problem. If the Giants have a really good season, don't you think it's more likely because of Tyrod Taylor? Like, what is his price in this market? Is he like 200-1? Would you rather bet on him?
I don't know. Can I find that somewhere, though?
Because I thought you were quoted as saying that the key to Giants' success this season was Tyrod Taylor.
No, I was saying it raises their floor.
Yes.
Raises their floor.
The old floor has been raised. Parameters, yes, of course. So you don't like Baker Mayfield. I kind of thought that he was the guy that has some value. I think there's a 12-1 right now. Like he's another guy. Like he missed a couple games last year. I think he missed 3 games. There was a lot of reports about his shoulder injury. He played through a lot of it, but 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. His last full season is healthy. Now has a little bit better of weapons in Carolina. Kind of like jettisoned out of the franchise after they signed Deshaun Watson. I could kind of see a narrative, even though he's not necessarily coming off of a major injury. I thought he was another guy that had some intrigue.
I don't hate it. I don't hate the case for him. It's not bad. I'm just not. I'm not sold on the Panthers. Like I don't think they're a good team. And I don't think Baker's that good of a quarterback.
Okay.
and he's the 4th favorite on the board. So yeah, I'll take the better price with Danny Dimes.
Hypothetical. If Christian McCaffrey stays healthy for, whatever, call it 15 games, Panthers are a decent team. He puts up a Christian McCaffrey season. Does he just win this award because his stats are insane? Or do you still think a guy like Jameis, who's obviously not going to be like the best quarterback in the league, like McCaffrey's going to be the best running back in the league, do you still think Jameis has a chance? Because I feel like CMC is the one guy that I don't have any exposure to that kind of just scares the crap out of me because, I mean, we know like the game-breaking stats he can put up.
If you want to cover your bases, I still think the award is going to default to the quarterback. The quarterbacks get credit for the wins and losses, and so if the Saints win 9 or 10 games this year and make the playoffs, I really do think it's Jameis's award.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Would you consider a Saquon Barkley then if you like the Giants, or you think the quarterback gets all the hype?
No, I'm not. I just don't want to lay shorter odds for a running back on the same team as the quarterback.
Oh, is he shorter? Jeez.
On FanDuel, he's 16-1. Daniel Jones is 20. That's 20-1. So I got to take the quarterback at the better price there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some of these long shots. Like some of these guys are just Gardner Minshew is listed. Trey Lance, like how is he coming back? This is his first season. Like
they just like throw guys here and
Odell Beckham's not even on a team. DeAndre Hopkins is suspended for taking steroids, and they're going to give him an award for coming
Will
back.
Fuller's not on a team. He's 75-1.
Can't even make a case for long shots. It's just like the most random assortment of guys.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson coming back to play 5 games after.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Did Cam Akers, who played like 4 games, this 40
played the entire playoffs and won a Super Bowl. Let's congratulate him for coming back now.
Yeah, like you said, Travis Etienne. Where's he coming?
He's never been here. He never played in the
league.
Anything left for you on comeback player of the year?
No, I don't think so.
All right. I think that pretty much wraps it up. Those are the main awards here that we have markets available for. Next week, we'll be sitting here talking about week 1 lines.
Oh, baby.
Can I just touch on one game real quick right now?
All right.
Is it time to panic on the Patriots? Like, I bet them +3 against the Dolphins, and every day I could just kind of look at it, and I'm
like,
I feel like I made a big mistake.
That. Yeah, I'm really worried about it. Yeah, so I didn't bet them yet, and I was looking at that, and I'm like, man, the Dolphins are looking like I hate the fact that I have to give.
It's preseason, but I'm like, I just like.
No, it's not even that I think the Dolphins are going to be that great. I just think the Patriots they just don't have anyone.
Yeah, then Malcolm Butler's now out for the season.
Hey,
like they're losing guys.
Like who is covering Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle?
Jalen Mills apparently, and whoever else they have there.
Jalen Mills, who's notoriously too slow to be a quarterback, basically now has to cover 2 of the fastest wide receivers in the NFL. It's funny you say that because the Eagles were playing the Dolphins yesterday, and I'm thinking about that week 1 game.
Yeah.
Like, man, I hate having to lay points with the Dolphins, but man, that's starting to look really good.
It's like one of my favorite bets like a month ago, and now I'm like, I may have made a big mistake here.
Yeah. So I'm glad I didn't buy into that one with you.
Yeah, well, you still have time to consider it. We'll see where the line goes. But yes, this time next week, we'll be covering all of the week 1 games. We'll get.
Can we just do it now? Can we just dive into them now? I'm ready to
go. No. We got to wait another week. There'll still be more injuries. We'll save it for next week. Until then, we will miss everyone dearly. Follow us on Twitter @BetRightPod. Give the show a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Smash the like button on YouTube. From Jeff and Rue, we are the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast because every time you bet with us, you bet right.